Hey folks, you are most welcome to this new episode, and here we have an amazing entrepreneur who is joining us from Mexico. And the way that he has been handling his agency, it is incredible. He has retained his clients for the last 8 years, and that is insane, guys. That is insane. That is why he is here sharing the amazing journey of his retaining the client and dear guest, Mike, you are most welcome on our new episode called Racks to Riches.
Awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. Honored to
Perfect,
be here.
perfect. So, Mike, actually, the audience is super excited to know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a fairly traditional household. Um, but I started noticing something in my teenage years, especially as I was going into high school, that my brain worked differently from those around me, including like all my closest friends, even now, all my closest friends from there are, engineers and doctors and things like that. And I always knew that there's something different. And I didn't know what it was at the time. And I really struggled for a lot of years, looking down this traditional path of life and work, and just having this gut feeling, knowing that it wasn't for me. But it took a long time. It took a lot of, working in jobs that were more corporate jobs that I didn't like to finally, break out and create the agency. So I would say it was a really long journey to find myself in the entrepreneurial space.
Mm-hmm. All right, all right. So, Mike, let's come to the topic. Like, although you had an amazing journey, and see what I have seen as of now after interviewing a ton of entrepreneurs out there, they have one major quality that they don't feel like they belong from the society, that the culture is out there. They feel like they are out of the crowd, and they have everybody feels like they are out of the crowd, but they are walking in the crowd. And you are the one entrepreneurs like you. They make the move out of the crowd, right? So making move is what is super important, and that's what Mike. When I state your name, Mike, that means you are the one who is making that move, right? So, Mike, let's go with the real stuff that we are here for exactly. Apart from the story, story is really super awesome, right? That grabbed my attention. So, how did you start your agency?
So I'll give you the 2 minute kind of weird backstory. Is so I actually didn't know anything about marketing. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't go to school for it. I never studied it. I was working actually for an insurance company for 6 years up until I was, I guess, 27, and I had a nervous breakdown. Like I just so many things about my life and my path at that point were counter to what my intuition was telling me, and I didn't feel another way out. And I literally just quit my job, that I had, the stable job with benefits and vacation and a company car and all this stuff. And when I left, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that it wasn't going to be that job. And so I actually started a software company first. A friend and I, came up with the idea in my backyard. We started building. We incorporated a business very quickly and just hired a developer with no idea what we were doing. And about a year into that project, we had sunk quite a bit of money at that point, and we realized, okay, building this app is going to take a lot longer than we thought, and maybe we weren't the best suited for that. And in between that time when I'd quit my job, I couldn't stop making money for a year. That I just didn't have the means to do that. And so I actually started selling advertising door to door. We used to go from business to business. Like we would just go to a busy street in Toronto and just walk into every single door. And I think talking about advertising and talking about Google products, and learning about the results that the people that said yes, which most of them said no, but the people that did say yes, getting to see what it created for them and how it was working and improving and growing their businesses, I got really interested in creating that for myself rather than just being the guy who was selling it. And so I self-taught through YouTube. This is back in 2013. I watched, almost 40 hours of YouTube videos on everything to do with how you run the Google ads. Nice thing was I already knew how to sell it because I was selling it for another organization. It was just a matter of, okay, now who's going to do that work? And at that point, obviously, it was me. And so once I did that, yeah, I spent time learning. And then I just reached out. Actually, my first customers were customers who were going to be users of the app, people that were going to buy advertising in the app that we were building. And I kind of said to them, look, this thing's taking forever. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I have this cool idea. Would you let me experiment with these Google ads? And two of them said yes. And like you mentioned in the pre-show, we had two of those clients were on with us for 8 years, which is crazy. So we obviously did something right. But yeah, it was just really just being self-taught and having this like nervousness in the back of my mind of like, I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to hurt my customers' businesses. So it was like we just went the extra mile to figure out, if something was wrong or something wasn't performing. We just worked all hours of the night till we perfected the thing that we were building.
All right, that really sounds interesting. What I was just trying to focus on to figure out to tell the audience who is watching right now, guys, see, he has worked on actually the term that we call LTV, long-term value, right? So he went all in and mentioned about his, the entire dedication that he would work, and let's see whether it is working for you or not, right? And that's the kind of mindset that you had, right? Awesome. That is really super interesting. People just keep making the notes out of it. What is he is saying? Because this is insane. I have not seen people who are retaining the clients like these for these many years, right? This is crazy.
Yeah, and admittedly, not every customer comes on for that long, but I would say on, in the 10 years that I've owned the business, our average is more than three, but less than four. And that's across every customer that we've had. So, we've had some eights, we've had some 3 months, you're not going to make everybody happy. And honestly, we've experienced some instances where the ads were working incredibly well. But the owner didn't, or the owner, or the person we were working with just didn't understand what we were doing. They're like, oh, this Google ad, this fad. Okay, I guess I'll try it. And they, we were clearly showing them a return, but they knew this old style of marketing. And so they, didn't buy in. And we've had people leave where like the performance was so good and they still left. So, a note to those of you who are getting started and trying to figure out, okay, as I get somebody on, and they leave, it's not always your fault. Most of the time it's your fault. Making sure you've got good processes and good retention and stuff like that is important. And a lot of people don't do it. But sometimes you could do everything right and the customer will still leave and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right. Before I ask any other question, there is one question in my mind. As you already mentioned about some people would leave, some people would stay. So now what is your secret sauce on maintaining the I would say relation between your client and
Yeah, that's a great question. So the biggest thing for me is making them feel important on a very regular basis. So where I see a lot of people go wrong here is that they will, get all excited. They'll offer this signing bonus. When they're doing the onboarding, everything's, hype and exciting. And then, 3 months in and the campaign is stable, you're just sending these boring monthly reports. Yeah, we did this many clicks, this many conversions. And a lot of times why people leave an agency, it's not necessarily for the performance of the marketing. It's that they don't feel important and they don't feel valued by the agency anymore. And that's, I would say, fit more than 50% of the time. That's why people leave. And so for us, we said, okay, if that's the case, how do we make people always feel like they're a priority for us? So there's a couple things that we do. Number one is we send them a video every 2 weeks. Now, the video doesn't need them to respond, and the video saves them the time of blocking off 15 minutes to get on Zoom. They're busy. They've got other things going on. Marketing's not the only thing that, that's happening, right? And so what we tend to do is we send a Loom video, and the Loom video is less than a minute. and it's, it's got their, we've got the results showing on the screen. For anyone who doesn't know Loom, it's where you can record your screen and your face at the same time. And so what we do is we just say, hey, customer, these are the results that we're seeing. We told you that we were going to work on this facet. This is, we're seeing improvement, or this is what we're trying to fix it. And so for them, they feel like, oh, these guys are actively working on the account. They're actively trying to improve stuff. They're following up on things we've talked about before. And so we just do that every other week. And that way they feel like, oh, okay, there's something happening. There's, a reason for this person to manage. Because you have to remember, when somebody's on a retainer, they're like, why am I paying you every month? And in the back end, you're like, well, Google changes stuff all the time. You need to optimize stuff. You need to, roll with the changes. You need to change how conversions are working. But like, they don't understand that, right? And a customer is never going to understand that. And so it's your job to make them feel important where they need to feel important. So, we send 2 videos per month. We also will send them a gift every 60 days. Often it's like hey, we're going to shoot you over the Starbucks card, buy, grab a coffee for the office. So these are like little things, $15, $20. Now, if we're talking about them spending $3,000 to $6,000 a month with you, to send something that's 30 or 50 or $100 every few months is not a lot, but it's that gesture. Like, nobody's sending coffee to their office. Nobody's sending them donuts. Nobody's buying them a bottle of wine. And so, hey, this is just a thank you. And doing that on a regular basis is, like, for me, that's what stands out for people. They're like, oh, the guy that keeps paying for our lunch. I love that guy. Oh, and he's making us money. Perfect. So like little gifts, we do that. And then I think the biggest thing is, once every 3 months, we actually meet with all the leadership, and we have our whole team and their whole team sit in on a meeting. And what we try and establish, it's like a business review, which is, hey, what are you guys seeing on your end? Are there other products or services that you're offering? Is there anything that we can upsell? Is there anything that we can cross sell? Is there anything that we're sending you leads for that isn't working? Anything that you're prioritizing now? Did you, for the law firm, sometimes they'll hire 2 attorneys, right? And we don't know. And they're like, yeah, we would like to keep this segment of our business busier because we just hired 2 new attorneys. Great. Well, if I don't know that, I'm just doing my monthly thing. It's hard for them to feel like, oh, these guys are adapting and changing with our business. And so we do a quarterly like business review call with every client to see where they're at and see where we can help support. And more importantly, is there an opportunity to grow our program with them? Hey, we just hired 2 more lawyers. Great. Let's ramp up the budget, which means our retainer gets up, higher too. So there's opportunities for you to make more money, but it's also an opportunity for them to know that you're prioritizing and changing with their business.
This is super crazy. I really wanted this to be shared, right? I really wanted this to be shared. So coming to the questions over here that we have decided that, okay, this is the structure that we are keeping is, uh, we are going to talk about something like how one could start attracting an ideal client, and how to onboard the client, how to keep the fulfillment done, and how to keep to the level of the customers requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say on the client acquisition side, most people confuse this. Most people say, hey, it's got to be a numbers game. If we just, throw out 10,000 points of contact, it'll work. And that is true. But I think for those who are getting started, I think doing the unscalable things is actually more important. And so when I work with my coaching clients, one thing that they always want is, okay, how do we build this automated, I don't have to do anything, and I just get, tons of meetings booked in my calendar every month? And the truth is that that's not realistic. There are some companies that can do it well, but for the most part, it's not it. And even when you get those sales calls, when the process has been fully automated, they're not very warm. And they're not, people that are, hey, excited to talk to you about their business. And so what I always recommend is get your first customers by doing things that are not scalable. And so my favorite thing is always make a list of 200 customers, like 200 businesses that you want to work with. If I get 2 or 3 or 4 of these people on board, my business would change forever, or my business would be where I want it to be, or whatever you want to say. And so the way I do it is I find out who the decision maker in that company is, and then I connect with them on LinkedIn, and then I send them a personalized video, and that video is usually a minute long, and it's addressing them by name, and it's like I literally just record them. I put my phone on a little tripod, and I'm like, "Hey, Mike, da 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 da. Hey, Mark, blah 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 blah," and it's them hearing their name at the beginning of a video triggers this thing in their brain where like, wait, this person recorded this video for me. And it really blows people's mind. And I still do it now with like anybody that joins my email list, anybody that opts into anything. I send every single person a voice note or a video. And what that does is it shows the person that you're going out of your way, and that shows the person that you value their time and that you value their energy. And the impact, that's how I built every single company and every single project that I've ever built. And my customers have experienced the same thing. And so the video should just be, hey, whatever, my name is Mike, 1 or 2 sentences about what your company does. The reason I'm reaching out is because, and so what you don't want to do is you don't want to make assumptions about the person needing your service. So you can't say, hey, you run this type of business, so you must need this. No, people don't like being told what to do. Like when someone tells us what to do, our natural reaction is like back up against the wall. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. So what you need to do is you need to invite that conversation. So, hey, I see that you work within this field or this industry or this type of company. A lot of people that I speak to in your role tend to need this type of support. And my company offers that type of support. If you'd be interested, I would love to schedule a time to chat with you, blah, blah, blah. So you're never saying you need to meet with me, and you're never saying you need my service. You're saying other people just like you, right? So you're leading in saying, and then that makes them think, oh, well, if other people like me, do I need this? And so you're triggering that in their mind, but you're never telling them or defining what they need to do. And that's critically important. And same thing with booking the meeting. You don't want to, a lot of people are aggressive. Oh, what do you have time Wednesday at this time or this time? It's like, no, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to give you time on my calendar. I always say, if this sounds interesting, if what I do sounds interesting, or if it sounds like it might help you, I'd love the opportunity to chat and share some more information. Just let me know. Right. And that, giving them the autonomy to identify, do I need this? And do I want to talk to this person? Gets me incredible response rates, like up to 70% response rate. Not every single person books a meeting, obviously, but people reach me all the time. Like, nobody's ever sent me a video. This is crazy. It's amazing that you took the time. And I build relationships with those people. And over time, they might become customers, right? But it's going the extra mile, especially to get your first couple people in the door.
Nice. That's an interesting way. Instead of going and telling that, hey, this I have this service, go and tell that. Give some social proof that these are the people need this service, and this is something what is required. Let me know if it is of your interest, right? That's what you mentioned. People, I really want
Yeah.
you to make this note. This is super important. This is the mistake people commit, right? So amazing session is going on. Let's go to the next question over here. How do we do the
Yeah.
fulfillment? What is the SOP of fulfillment? People, SOP means
Yeah.
standard operating procedure.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, those are the absolute foundations for any business. So the difference between I'm a solo person running this company and I actually have a business now, like you can create a job for yourself because you know how to do it. You know how to set up the ads, you know how to set the contract, you know how to do all the functions. Until you have that stuff documented, you do not have a business, in my opinion. So I think a lot of people get overwhelmed at this, and I have those conversations with people all the time. Yeah, but then I have to, I have to get this online learning portal. I have to get all this. Like people think it has to be some big undertaking. And the truth is you just need to get the information out of your head and put it into some form of documentation. So here's what I would encourage you to do is create a Google Doc and say, these are the 5 steps in my business, right? So for me, for an agency, it's like people need to know who I am. So I need to market. And then people become aware of who I am. So they have an interaction with my brand. And then somebody inquires. So there's like the inquiry and then the sales process, et cetera, et cetera. They say yes, right? So I have to onboard them and then I have to maintain and manage their account every month. So those are the 5 facets to most agencies, right? So within that, so make those like the headers. And then underneath those, what are all the steps? So for me, like onboarding is super important because I've just paid you a retainer. I want a return on my investment. How quickly can I get you that win, right? If I can get you your first lead in a week, you're going to feel really good about deciding to work with me, right? And so what I do is I say, okay, let's work backwards from this. How would I get this person with a live advertising account with a lead in 7 days? So by day 6, the ads have to be running because it needs a day for them to turn on and prompt the phone call, right? And that means on day 4, the ads have to be ready, which means by day 2, I have to understand this business and what their strategy is and all this stuff. So from the time that they sign, I have to be on a strategy call with them in 2 days. I have to understand every facet of their business. I have to get access to their website, their analytics, their da, da, da. So all these things, right? You just make this list of like what that would look like. And then where a lot of people get stuck is they record a video, right? So, okay, I'm recording this loom and the loom is just them clicking, right? So, for example, like a simple is like, how do you build an advertising account on Google, right? So you go, new account, you name the account, you choose this type of settings, you put in the keywords, you write the ads, you pick the landing pages, you choose what the conversions are, right? Like that's the basic functions. So what a lot of people will do when they're creating their SOP, and I'm using air quotes for anybody who's just doing the audio, is they think that somebody watching their screen and watching them click on different things is them teaching somebody, which the truth is it's not. It's just you recording where your mouse is clicking. And so what I encourage people to do is pretend as if somebody's watching your screen, but they're not with you. They're on another computer and they're not able to talk to you and they're not able to ask you any questions about what you're doing. And think about in that person's mind, okay, if I do this and I say a few words and I click these buttons, what would the person on the other end be thinking? What would they be learning? What would they be understanding about our process? And the truth is that they would just know how to go from step 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. But why? But why do we decide on these things? How do we choose these things? Why do we write the headlines that we write? Why do we write the ad copy that we write? How do we choose our ad groups for our keywords, et cetera? So it's really important to, while you're recording these videos, to talk through everything. And if you think you've talked too much, talk more. It doesn't matter. And these videos can be anywhere from, I've got some training videos that are 10 minutes. I have some training videos that are an hour and a half. And I literally will say, okay, I'm going to this website now. Now, the way I would search for keywords is, this plus place and place plus this and this in place. But, here's a couple other ways that people search, or, historically, these are some other things that I've seen. So I will talk and talk and talk, because when you do it all the time, when you do these steps on a regular basis and it's only you and you're just the one doing it, there's a lot of things that are obvious to you. But if someone new is coming in and you're creating a process for other people to follow, what's obvious to you is not going to be obvious to them, or else they would be you, right? And so you have to take every thought, even like, okay, well, I typically choose this setting under these circumstances, but I would choose this other setting with these set of circumstances. And if it's, between this and this, could be a judgment call. And this is how I would judge that thing. And so really going deep, deep, deep and make the videos super long. Because if you've got somebody that you're paying to come in and do this work, even if you're paying for them to watch these videos and they got to watch it 5 or 6 times and they're an hour long each, that's still more valuable than you having to do that work forever. And I think people get stuck on that. They get stuck on this idea that, oh, well, if they have to watch it 5 times, I got to pay them for 5 hours. That's still better than you spending the time to do it. Because over time, when they get used to that process and they understand how you want things done, not only will they get done quickly, they will get done without the need for you to have a touch point with them. And it's super important.
Nice. That's super interesting, right? So we have covered so far over here, like how to track the edit clients, and what are the things that we need to keep in the mind while reaching out to the clients, and also the fulfillment part, that is SOP. Now, how to keep yourself up to the mark wherein the expectation of the client matches what you're delivering.
Yeah. So I think a lot of that starts with the foundation of how you sell the project. And I think a lot of people, especially in the marketing, we want to hype stuff up, right? We want our offer to sound incredible, irresistible, if you will, if you've read Alex Hormozzi's book, right? And so I think it's really important as you're early, as you're getting started, we were just super honest with people. We were like, look, I've just learned how to do it. I have a good handle on it. I have a good feeling about it, but I don't know how this is going to go, right? This is going to be a little bit experimental, but what I did is you're paying me for this a bit of, it's a bit of an experiment, so I'm going to charge you a bit less than I would like to charge you because, I'm going to de-risk this proposition for you. And so a lot of people don't want to do that. Or a lot of people, I think the bigger mistake is a lot of people want to offer for free at the beginning. I don't like that. I like the idea of, hey, this is my ideal rate, but I'm still in the early stage. So I'm gonna be at 60% of my ideal rate. And that's the discount you're gonna get for a little bit of experimentation. Now, what I will say is I'm gonna work my butt off to make sure that I keep up to date, that I see things performing. And if I don't see that things are performing, I'm going to go the extra mile and I'm going to work tirelessly until I make this work for you. So that's a really honest, really like, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing, but just know that if you trust me with this, if you entrust this project with me, I will do everything I can to make it work for you. And because because I'm in the entry level, you'll get a bit of a deal to do it, right? Now that's how I started, and that was a really good way so that it takes the pressure off. Because if you just make a crazy promise and then you stress yourself out trying to deliver that thing, the chances of failure are so much higher, in my opinion. And so what I like to focus on is just being honest with people. And now if a customer comes in and they're like, yeah, we want to pay a retainer of about $1,000 a month, and we want this and this and this, and I said, no, it's not, like, for me, it's not how it works. Now I have a system. Now I know if I plug you into this, you're going to get between a 4 and a 10 times return on your money, which means my fee is going to be this set amount. I'm not negotiating it. We're not having that conversation, right? And I also know that with high level of confidence that with your type of business that I can deliver between a 4 and 10 times return. So if you want to do it and you want to pay me, great. And if not,
All
okay,
right.
totally fine. But as you establish yourself over time and you're more confident in your ability to deliver, then you can be a little bit more hard line and a little bit more take it or leave it. But I think in the early stages, being flexible is really important.
All right. That really does sound interesting, and I strongly believe people are making the notes out of it. So this is super amazing. This is super amazing. The topics that we have covered so far over here. Now I really would like to take some questions over here. It's like, Mike, what do you think? What would have been the best questions someone would have ever asked you?
I think one thing that gets overlooked by a lot of people is like what happens if people are saying no? What happens if I'm offering this thing or I'm reaching out to people and everybody is saying no? And so here's what I would say. And I made this offer. This is actually a very relevant story. There was a guy on Facebook in a Facebook group that I'm a part of. He said, "Hey, I really need help with this agency. I'm really stuck. I can't get clients. I'm da, 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 da. I'm not even sure like how to offer what I'm trying to offer. I don't know how, and I would love, would somebody mentor me or would someone give me their time?" And I said, so I wrote, "Hey, I've got 10 years of experience. I have a small team. I run a remote business traveling the world. I've got I've figured it out. Um, I will give you a free 30 minutes of my time, which is usually several $100s, right? And so I will do that and I will give it to you for free and I will walk you through how to do it. But first, I need you to tell me or show me that you've reached out to 250 businesses and they've all said no." And a couple people like, that person kind of freaked out. And I said, but the truth is, you send the first you send the first 75 and everybody says no or everyone's ignoring you, then you start to change the way that you reach out. Oh, maybe I'll try a different strategy. Maybe I'll try some different language, right? And then the next 75 go out. So now you're, 150 go out and you're saying, okay, Well, a couple people said maybe, but nobody really bit. So what's the difference between the first way and the second way? You say, oh, okay, well, maybe if I just do this, it'll improve. And the truth is, like, if you've reached out to 200, 250 up to 500 companies, you have made your own changes and you've created your own feedback loop of the things that work versus the things that don't work. And I think it's really important, especially people want to, take more courses or hire more consultants or whatever those things are. I would encourage you to put in the effort first, put in the numbers first. Like, send, I guarantee you send 250 personalized videos out to your prospects that you want to work with. um, your business is off the ground. You have clients. It's impossible to reach out to that many people with a personalized video and every single person decline or reject or not be willing to talk to you. It's impossible. So what happens is when you do it and you get that feedback loop, it's like you need to train and get your own data before you seek more advice. If you don't know if it's working or not, more advice is not going to help. More advice is just going to make you feel more bogged down. So do first and then seek feedback and seek advice later.
Nice. This is super interesting. I was supposed to ask what is the number one tip you would like to give, and you have already gave
Yeah.
that tip before asking me. So, Mike, thank you so much. People who do not have the idea how much his agency makes, so I would call him a six-figure agency owner who has been killing it for the last, I would say almost a decade. Right. So
Um,
it's crazy to see that. So people who have been watching us, thank you so much for being an amazing audience out there, and thank you so much to the guest as well for being an amazing guest and sharing the valuable nuggets with my audience. Thank you everyone for being over here.